Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for joining on a weekday. Wishing you all a very, very happy, very, very auspicious, Krishna conscious, Bhaktimai Sri Radhastami. So I thought we'll discuss a little bit about Radharani. Since Radharani is very difficult to understand, her Tattva, her spiritual understanding is very deep and very difficult. She's the most complicated Tattva to understand. So I will try to explain to the best of my capability, but even Krishna cannot understand Radharani. So for someone like me to try to explain her is just a very minute drop in the ocean that her understanding is, that her mood is, that her bhav is. So I'll say prayers very quickly and we'll get started. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागणरघुनाथान्वितं सतं सजीवं साधवेतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सागणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्कायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं। परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्णचैतन्य ईश्वरं गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. Okay. So, before I get started, maybe a couple of devotees would like to share their understanding of who Radharani is, or what do they understand so far. And none of the understandings, trust me, nothing will be incorrect. So you can share without any fear. Who would like to say something that they understand? Let's say Anita Mataji, if you're available, Raghu Prabhu, Jagati Mataji, would you, any of you like to share something? 1 or 2 lines.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Tanva Pranam. So for Radharani, what I know, she's the internal potency of Lord, and she's the Shakti, like all the energy, and Lord is Shaktiman. So anything that he does, he uses the Shakti, the energy from Radharani. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Yes, Mataji, yes, perfect. And who else would like to share? Okay. So so I'll share something and let's see what you understand. I've tried to hear many different classes and over the years, and from my understanding from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll share something. So imagine we are ordinary jivas. We are stuck in this material world, but all of us at all times, anybody at all times, is trying to achieve one thing only, and that is happiness. Whatever we do, our nature is to look for happiness in whatever activity we do. Whether we are reading a book, watching a TV, going out with friends, anything we do, we're looking for happiness, eating something, anything, we are always looking for happiness. That is the nature of a jiva. So in Vedanta Sutra, it is said that jiva's nature is anandamayo bhyasat, that jiva likes to be joyful. So a soul likes to be joyful. Soul has a tendency to seek pleasure or enjoyment or happiness. So everyone is looking for happiness in anything that they do. And the other thing that they are looking for is love, right? Everybody agrees that we are all looking for prem in our relationships, in anything. We are always looking for love and happiness. So, and it is said that Krishna being the absolute truth, Krishna being the supreme Lord, the supreme personality of Godhead, Param Satya, absolute truth, he is the source of everything. He is the cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the source of all sources. Everything emanates from him. Aham Sarvasya Prabhuvo, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Everything originates from Krishna, which means he is the original source of happiness and love as well. So it is said about Krishna that he is the reservoir of love. He is the reservoir of unlimited happiness and love that we are looking for in this world. And our attempts at finding that happiness and love in this world get baffled at all times. Our attempts at finding real happiness keep getting frustrated in this world. But he is the reservoir of all love, all pleasure, and he can give it to us. He has it and he can give it to us. A very wonderful devotee of Prabhupada, his name is George Harrison. You may know George Harrison as one of the Beatles. So he's one of the Beatles, and he was a great disciple of Prabhupada. And he said in his one of his introduction to one of the books, he said, everyone is actually looking for Krishna, whether or not they know it. Some know it, some may not know it, but actually everyone is looking for Krishna, because everyone at the end of the day is looking for happiness and love, and that happiness and love resides in Krishna. So everyone ultimately is looking for Krishna. We just don't know it, and we are looking for love and happiness in the wrong places. Anand, that or bliss that we're seeking for it in the wrong places, in places that are sources of misery. Actually, we are looking for happiness. We are not looking for it in the place that is actually the source of that happiness, which is Krishna. So now imagine this person, Krishna, who's full of this love, who's full of this bliss, this pleasure. If he decides to separate, if he separates this anand, this joy from himself, this love from himself, and a person appears in front of you, okay, that person is a separated love and pleasure from Krishna. That person is Radharani. So Radharani is nothing but made of prema, of Krishna prema. Radharani's tattva is nothing but Anand and Prem. So that's why her other names are Anand Sharira or Prem Sharira or Prem Mai, because she is only made of love and pleasure. So that person that separates from Krishna to give pleasure and love to Krishna and to all the jivas in this world, that person is Radharani. So that's why Radharani is so difficult to understand, because our conception of Radharani is, we see all these pictures, like here in this picture, you see Radharani next to Krishna. So people say, oh, who is this girl next to Krishna? Who is this girl next to this boy? So our understanding is very distorted. Our understanding is coming from this world in which we believe that when there is a girl and a boy, there is some, lusty desires and that type of attraction or love between them. So we fail to understand the real Radharani, real person that she is, because we compare her to a mundane, ordinary girl as if she's a girlfriend of Krishna, or if she's just like a ordinary cowherd girl. Just like we go to a village and we see so many cowherd girls, we think, oh, she's also just one of the cowherd girls. And then Krishna had an affair with her, and then he got separated from her, and she was just crying in separation when he went off and he married someone else. Is that the true story? So that's not the real story at all. That's a very, very distorted, very, very ordinary, very, very mundane, superficial version that is distorted by our perception, because we try to perceive things according to our very, very minute, limited intelligence, and that intelligence is actually very contaminated. We don't have any spiritual intelligence at all. So once we cleanse our senses, once we cleanse ourselves of lusty desires and other desires of this world, and we try to gain some spiritual intelligence. We try to hone our intelligence with the scriptures, with the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and especially Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then we understand this real deep relationship between Radha and Krishna. So it's not like an ordinary boy and girl or a cowherd girl separated from Krishna had an affair. Not like that. This is not like a Bollywood movie. Movies are made from Krishna story. It's not the other way that Krishna story is made from a Bollywood movie. So, so Radha Rani is the Anand Tattva, is the Prem Tattva. She's made of Krishna Prem. That's her real Tattva. And she is the pleasure-giving potency for the Lord. She is the Alhadini Shakti of the Lord. So absolute truth is only one. Okay, Param Satya is only one. But when that Param Satya splits into two to give pleasure to each other and to give pleasure to the devotees, then that person is Radha Krishna. That's why absolute truth is not just Govinda or Gopinath or Shyam Sundar. Absolute truth is Radha Govinda. Absolute truth is a couple. It's a Jugal. It's a Jugal Kishore. It's Radha Govinda. It's Radha Gopinath, Radha Shyam Sundar, Radha Madan Mohan. Like that, it's always Radha with Krishna is the complete absolute truth. So another understanding of Radha Krishna is that they are basically energy and energetic. So if Krishna is the energetic, if Krishna is all powerful, possessor of all opulences, then Radha Rani is his energy. Radha Rani is the energy of the energetic. So if Krishna is, let's say, sugar, then Radha Rani is the sweetness in that sugar, and they cannot be separated. Energetic and energy can never be separated. Just like you cannot separate, let's say, sunshine from the sun. You cannot separate sweetness from a sugar. It won't be sugar anymore if the sweetness is separated and cannot be separated. You cannot separate the salty taste from the salt. So like that, you cannot separate energy and energetic. So they are Shakti and Shaktiman. And in this regard, there are many verses actually given. One of the verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Radha Krishna ekatma dui deha dhari aniyone vela se rasa asvadan kori. That Radha and Krishna are one and same. So they are both Bhagwan, because one Bhagwan has split into two to give pleasure to each other, to engage us in pastimes, to show us this beautiful loving pastimes of conjugal mood, of vipralamba bhav, mood of separation, of mood of immense, intense separation with each other. So they are one and same, but they assume two bodies to enjoy different rasas or different mellows of love with each other. And that is Radha Krishna. So some people say, some people think, there is always this debate going on, that is Supreme Lord a man or a woman? Is he a boy or a girl? Is he a male or a female? So the feminist will always say that that the Supreme Lord is a male. Or is a female, and the other people, men, will say that no, Supreme Lord is a male. So there is always this conflict going on. But actually, Supreme Lord is neither male nor female, because male and female identification, this gender identification, happens in our material body. We are the ones that get material body, not Bhagwan. Bhagwan has Satchidanand form. Bhagwan has a divine transcendental body that does not change even when he comes to this material world. He comes in his original Satchidanand form. He does not change his body. He does not acquire a material body. So, since he never has any material identification at all, he is neither male nor female. Or you can say he is both male and female. He is both Purush and Prakriti. He is both energy and energetic. He is both power and the powerful. So he's not one or the other. He's actually both. And he decides to split into two to engage in a beautiful relationship, so that we can relate to that relationship, so that we can enjoy some leela, some activities with the Lord. Because love can only be expressed when there are two people. So Krishna shows by splitting into these two forms how proper love can be expressed between two jivas, two people, how a devotee needs to express love to the Lord. And that love needs to be expressed just like Radha Rani expresses it for Krishna. So Radha Rani is Bhagwan, she's our Swamini, but she also acts like the topmost devotee of the Lord. She also acts like the perfect servant or perfect devotee who's always giving, whose only job is to give pleasure to the Lord. Her goal, her existence is just to give love, to give pleasure to the Lord. So she gives a pleasure through us, through devotees. She gives pleasure through various expansions of hers. She gives pleasure to the Lord through various many leelas, many pastimes. In fact, she is called the Yog Maya Shakti of the Lord. Yog Maya means that Shakti of the Lord that connects us to Lord. Yoga means connecting to the Lord. So Yog Maya means that Maya or that Shakti of the Lord which takes us towards Krishna, which takes us towards the Lord. So she's the spiritual energy. She's the superior energy or the Yog Maya power of the Lord. So whatever services that we do, whatever activities we do in Krishna consciousness, whether we make food, whether we offer arti, whether we sing kirtan, whether we read Bhagavad Gita, whether we do shravanam of Harikatha like this, whatever activities we do and pleasure that we derive from doing those sevas, that pleasure is given by Radharani. So the pleasure that we experience in trying to connect to Krishna, that pleasure is given by Radharani. The realizations that we get, the prema that we feel, the prema that is being invoked incited in us, that prema, that realization, that beautiful mellows that we are feeling with Krishna, all that is being given by Radharani. So any pleasure, any joy anyone feels in these services, in these activities is coming from Radharani. So that is our goal of existence, not only to give love, immense love, unlimited love to Krishna through various moods, through various expansions, but also to give pleasure and joy to the devotees, to the jivas, so that they will engage more and more in these spiritual activities. So this is the Tattva of Radharani. So she is the supreme source of all pleasure and love. Her body is made of love. She is the condensed love of Krishna Prema. Now, let me ask you, what is the goal of our life? What is the highest purpose or perfection of life? What are we trying to achieve? Is it liberation?
Yeah, mukti, liberation, yoga, a union with God.
Okay. Yes.
Mataji, our goal, Krishna Prem.
Yes, yes. Mukti is, you're right, Prabhuji, mukti is given. When Krishna Prem happens, mukti is already given. So mukti is a little bit of a lower goal. So for devotees, mukti is not the topmost goal. The topmost goal for devotees is Krishna Prem. And when Krishna Prem happens, the mukti or the other things like various, satisfaction, happiness, peace, all those things automatically happens. But we are trying to achieve Krishna Prema. So, when we recite those offenses in the morning, some of you are familiar with the offenses to the holy name that we recite. And the last line says that, may I, never commit these offenses and achieve the highest goal of life, which is Krishna Prema. So imagine Radharani is she's like the condensed Krishna Prem. She's the personification of Krishna Prem. If Krishna Prem was to stand in front of you in the form of a person, then that person is Radharani. So she's that Alhadini Shakti, the pleasure-giving potency. So many names she has. Whether you call her Alhadini Shakti, the pleasure-giving potency of the Lord, whether you call her Yog Maya, whether you call her spiritual energy or superior energy of the Lord, whether you call her अभी जो हमने बोला था एक condensed love of Krishna, all those things, those are all different names of Radharani. She's Anandamayi, she's Prem Sharira, like that. But now let me ask you another question. So we know that Krishna has so many expansions. He expands in the form of various Narayans and so many Vaikunthas. The spiritual sky is full of millions of Vaikunthas. And in each Vaikuntha, there is a Narayan served by Lakshmi ji. And so there are so many Narayans, and Krishna expands as all those Narayans. There are 3 Purush avatars, which are 3 Vishnus, Karnodakshay, Garbhodakshay, and Shirodakshay Vishnu, and Krishna expands as those 2 in this material world. Krishna expands as so many other things. He expands as Shirodakshay Vishnu, as Paramatma in all living entities. So many expansions Krishna takes. Can anybody name any expansions of Radharani? we hardly ever discuss any expansions of Radharani. There are three main expansions that I want to hear about. Who are those three expansions? Let's see what our understanding is. You can take a guess if you want.
माता जी एक्सपेंशन मींस क्या, समझ नहीं आया मुझे.
एक्सपेंशन मतलब कि उनसे वो आगे उनमें से क्या बनते हैं, वो एक्सपैंड होके, मतलब जैसे कि कृष्णा से नारायण आते हैं, राइट? नारायण से विष्णु आते हैं, विष्णु परमात्मा की तरह हमारे अंदर एक्सपैंड करते हैं, हमारे अंदर एंटर करते हैं. सो ऐसे राधा रानी ओरिजिनल है. राधा रानी इज द ओरिजिनल. शी इज द ओरिजिनल भगवान. शी इज द ओरिजिनल एब्सोल्यूट ट्रूथ. सो वो किस में एक्सपैंड करी है? व्हाट आर हर?
Is it Lakshmi?
Yes, yes. So remember, there are many Lakshmis, right? So in each Vaikuntha there are millions of Lakshmis. So Radharani is all those Lakshmis.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna. Shall I tell? I just read in the morning Ganga Devi and Saraswati. Ganga is also came from Radha. There's a story between them, Krishna and Radha.
Hari Bol. Yes, Mataji. All the Devis, basically, all the goddesses, demigoddesses, Devis. So whether it's Ganga Devi, Yamuna Devi, Vrinda Devi, which is Tulsi Maharani, then Kali, Mother Parvati, all those are expansions from Radharani. So they are conducting this world, this material world. Ganga is helping us purify of our sins. Yamuna is facilitating pastimes of the Lord. Vrinda Devi is guarding the entrance to Vrindavan. Kali, Mother Kali, is helping in people that are in mode of ignorance or tamasic people, trying to deliver them. Mother Parvati, she's the, or Mother Durga, she's the jailer of this material world. So she controls this material world, and they are all expansions from the original source, Radharani. Hari Bol, Mataji, very nice. Who else wants to share? One more. Or actually two more. So all the Devis, you said, the Lakshmi Jis and all the Devis you mentioned, they're all coming from Radharani. So then two more key expansions. So all the gopis of Vrindavan, all the gopis, they are expansions from Radharani. Millions of gopis, whether they are elderly gopis, whether they are young gopis, they're all expansions from Radharani. And then the third expansion is all the queens of Dwarka. So the 16,108 queens, and they are serving Krishna all in different moods. So each queen has a different mood. And I was just telling this morning some of the devotees that Satyabhama's mood is considered closest to the mood of Radharani. But there are so many. Some are in very sarcastic mood. Some are always fighting. Some are very loving. Some are very submissive. Some have a very mixed kind of mood. Like that, many emotions, many mellows that they exchange with Krishna, and they are all expanded from Radharani. So in this way, she is serving Krishna in so many moods. So now let's do a story. I wanted to tell you a very quick story. This is actually a history. I mean, it's not a story. It's not anything mythological. It's a historical account. This story is documented in one of our great Acharya, Sanatan Goswami's book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And that story will give you some idea about the Radha Bhaav. Okay, very nice story. Please hear attentively. So Brihad Bhagavatamrita contains two stories, of which I'm going to narrate one of the stories today. This story starts with Narad Muni. Narad Muni was one day sitting in Prayag with some sages and saints, and they started discussing then who do you think is the best, greatest devotee of the Lord, or the most highest who has the most mercy from the Lord, or who is the best recipient of Lord's mercy? Can we find that devotee? So Narad Muni, always the space traveler, always a transcendental traveler, he has access to all the worlds. He can travel anywhere without needing any special powers. So he said, okay, I will go search for that perfect devotee, the purest devotee that you're looking for. So he, first of all, he went to this bhumi, this earth. He came down to this earth, And he was sitting at the bank of Ganges and just thinking about who could be a good devotee, a pure devotee that, Krishna really likes. So then he saw this Brahman, very poor looking Brahman. He didn't have much with him. He was carrying a very old tattered cloth, and the Brahman sat next to the Ganges. He took a Shaligram Shila from the cloth and started worshipping that Shaligram Shila. He didn't have much, but whatever he had some food that he offered to the Shila. He had some, with Ganga water, he offered Ganga water. He offered a Tulsi leaf to the Shila. He offered some prayers and pranams and things like that. And then he accepted his bhoga. So Narad Muni was very impressed with this poor Brahman. He said, "Oh, this Brahman is so poor, but look how attached he is to Shaligram Shila. So nicely he worshipped it with proper mantras and everything. This must be a great devotee of the Lord. Maybe he is the purest devotee. Let me check with him." So he went to Brahman and he said, "Oh, Brahman, are you the pure devotee, the perfect, best devotee of the Lord? I'm so impressed by your worship of this Shaligram Shila." So Brahman started laughing. Brahman said, "Narad Muni, you just happened to catch me on a day when I worshipped the Shaligram Shila. I just worship one day in the year and I don't have much. I'm a Brahman. I'm supposed to worship Shaligram Shila every day, but I don't have much to offer. So I'm only able to worship like once in a year. And I know some mantras, I know some prayers because that's my upbringing, that's my qualities. So what's the big deal if I worship Shaligram Shila one day in a year? And I offered it some food, but I'm not able to take much care of him or anything." So he said, "You can go to this king. There is a king in South. This king has 108 Shaligram Shilas. And even though he's not a Brahman, even though he's just a Kshatriya, he is worshipping those 108 Shaligram Shilas, not only himself, not only worships it every day, but he worships with the entire kingdom. The whole kingdom worships this Shila with him. And so he's engaging everybody in his kingdom in this pious act, in this act of devotional service. You should definitely go to him. I think he's the best devotee of the Lord. I do not know any other devotee that's better than him." So Narad Muni went on his journey to South and he found this king and he started glorifying the king. He said, "Oh king, I've been sent to you that you are the best devotee." So the king paid obeisances to Narad Muni and said, "Narad Muni, please don't make fun of me. I have a lot of wealth. Somehow I was gifted these 108 shilas and I have a very small, meager kingdom. And with help of all those citizens, I pray to these Shaligram shilas. But I'm not able to do much more. I'm always engaged in my materialistic activities, my Kshatriya duties, and this is all I'm able to do for a few minutes every day. So what's the big deal? But there is a bigger king than me. This king, he has actually many, many kingdoms, and he has crores of very, very pious people that worship not 108 shilas, but 1,008 shilas with more elaborate prayers and mantras and everything, and every day. And that king is King Indra of Swarglok. He's the King Indra, Amrendra. Go to him. And he, I think, is the best devotee because he's engaging so many crores of demigods, Devi Devtas, that are under his jurisdiction. They are all praying to 1,008 shilas every day with so much more pious, capabilities and paraphernalias. Please go to him. So Narad Muni said, "Okay, I know King Indra very well. I will go to him." So he went to King Indra. Indra said, "Narad Muni, you think I am the best devotee of the Lord? Really? Have you not read Srimad Bhagavatam?" So Narad Muni started laughing. Narad Muni said, "What do you mean I have not read Srimad Bhagavatam? I am the reason why Srimad Bhagavatam manifested from Ved Vyas. I am the source of inspiration for Ved Vyas to write Srimad Bhagavatam. So I have read it." So he said, then don't you know how many offenses I commit on a daily, regular basis against so many devotees and against the Lord himself so many times? Have you not read 6th canto, where I committed offense against my own spiritual master, Brihaspati? And have you not read 10th canto, Govardhan Leela? So famous, when I committed Bhagavad Aprad and I committed Aprad against all the Vrajvasis. and they were tormented for 7 days and 7 nights and had to stand under Govardhan. And and Lord had to lift that Govardhan on his hand for 7 days and 7 nights. I put him to such horrible torment for these 7 days. This is my nature. I'm very envious, and I have been envious of such great devotees like Prithu Maharaj. I've tried to spoil their yagyas. I steal their horses when they're doing Ashwamedh yagya. You think I am the great devotee? So Narad Muni stopped him. Narad Muni said, okay, I understand. Okay, you are not the great devotee, but can you tell me in the next place to go, who do you think is the best next place that I can go to? I hope everybody's following the story. So we started from a small poor Brahman, then to the king in the south, and then to Indra, and now Indra is directing him to someone else. So Indra said, Narad Muni, I really think that Brahmaji, your own father, actually is the best devotee of the Lord. He is such an amazing, wonderful devotee. He's Ajanma. He is the only jiva that actually directly comes from the navel of the Lord, from the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So he has such great benedictions. He's given such amazing service to perform. He's given the service of making this creation secondary. He's a secondary creator. He's given such a wonderful service to populate this earth and to make this earth from material element, to make this material world from material elements. And he has done this service perfectly. So please go to him. So he says, okay, I'll go to Brahmaji. So he goes to Brahmaji. I apologize for the pictures. Pictures are just to engage your senses, to engage your vision. They're just Radharani's pictures, but the story has nothing to do with the pictures. So then Narad Muni went to Brahmaji. Brahmaji said, Narad, Indra told you that I am the best devotee of the Lord. Just because I made this creation, I did this by Lord's mercy only. I prayed to him, he gave me all the resources, and I made this material world. So what? But do you know how much, but do you not know the Brahma Vimohan Leela, 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam? Didn't you just hear that on Janmashtami, the katha about Aghasur and how I got deluded by all the by the little Bal Gopal who was having lunch in the forest? So don't you know that I have committed such a great aparadh against the Supreme Lord and against Gopas and their calves and cows, and that aparadhi is me, and so many other offenses I have committed. So how can you say that I'm the perfect devotee? I'll tell you some, and I was given an easy service actually. I'll send you to somebody else who I think is the best devotee, who has done actually very difficult services for the Lord. Whenever Lord needs a very difficult service to be done, this is the person he goes to. So let me ask my audience here. Who do you think Brahmaji sent him to? Somebody who does very difficult services for the Lord.
Mataji, शायद शंकर जी.
Shankar, yes, Shivji. So he sent him to Lord Shiva. He said, when the pastime of the churning of ocean happened, the Samudra Manthan Leela happened, and the wish came out, the poison came out, the halahal wish. Who held that wish, that poison in their throat, so that till date they are called Neelkant? That person, that personality, that great Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu. Bhagavatam itself says Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu, that amongst all the Vaishnavas, the topmost Vaishnava is Shivji. So the Bhagavatam is declaring it. So Narad Muni, I have no doubt that Shivji is your person to go to. He's the topmost devotee. When Adi Shankaracharya came and he spread impersonalist knowledge, impersonalism in this world, about the mukti and all this, then that service was given to Shivji. So Shivji came as Adi Shankaracharya. Such a difficult service to perform, to spread impersonalism in this world. But he did it on the behest of the Supreme Lord. So he does all the difficult services. He's held Ganga on his head. So many things he does. Please go to him. So Narad Muni said, yes, you have a point, my own brother. Yes, Shivji is definitely the topmost devotee, Bhagavatam declares. So he went to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, when he heard this, he said, okay, so I drank poison. I held poison in my throat. Yes, I did that service, no doubt. I came as Adi Shankaracharya, and I've done some other things also. But still, I don't think these services are the topmost. This was not, I mean, okay, one time I drank poison, so it was not, I'm a very powerful person. I'm a very, Ishwar, I'm a supreme person. So what if I held poison in my throat? I can do that. I have those powers given to me by the Lord. So he said, but think about it. Somebody who has no powers, Narad Muni, who is very small, very powerless, he not only was made to drink poison, this person was thrown in a pit of snakes. This person was thrown in front of trampling elephants. This person was thrown from the mountains. This person was thrown into the ocean. This person was made to sit in the fire. That little Prahlad is the topmost devotee of the Lord. He not only drank poison, he not only sat in the pit of snakes, he had complete surrender to the Lord and just kept saying Lord's names the whole time. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That was his shelter, just the names of the Lord. So imagine that little Prahlad who had no powers, but just your instructions. That Prahlad, I think, is the topmost devotee of the Lord. You should go to him. So Narad Muni said, oh, my own disciple, little Prahlad, I have taught him the whole Bhagavatam. Of course, he is the topmost devotee. I will go to him. Why didn't I think of this before? He has suffered so much at the hands of that evil Hiranyakashipu, and yet he held his faith firm and took shelter at all times of the Supreme Lord. He has to be the completely surrendered, perfect, pure devotee of the Lord. So let me go to Prahlad. So he went to Prahlad. Now Prahlad said, I did all this. Yes, no doubt. But I had shelter of the holy names, as you have taught me, Gurudev. You taught me to take shelter of the holy name when in difficulty. So I did that. So what? But I never offered any services to the Supreme Lord. When Narsingadev came, I did not even give a seat for him. When somebody comes to your house, the least you can do is to give a seat. I did not give him any seat. So he had to sit on the throne himself. I did not give him anything to drink. So he had to drink the blood of my father. I did not even garland him, and he had to garland himself with the intestines of my father. So what service? I did not even give him any service. I just took shelter of him for my own difficulty. So what did not serve him? Isn't service called isn't devotional service the highest mood? Didn't Prabhupada say that bhakti is not just devotion, bhakti is devotional service? So service has to come with devotion. If there is no service, there is no love. Love can only be expressed in the form of service. Nobody can say that I love somebody but not do any service to them. So I did not do any service to the Supreme Lord. So how can you say I am the supreme devotee? So, but there is somebody, even though they were set on fire, I was also set on fire, but I was just sitting there, not serving the Lord. But this person, when they were set on the fire, they did a very important service for the Lord. Can anybody identify that person? They were set on fire, but they did a very important service for the Supreme Lord. Who was that person? Who was that devotee? When they were set on the fire, and they set fire to the entire Lanka. So go to that glorious devotee, the great, the only one and only Hanumanji. Yeah, go to Hanuman. He was on fire and yet he served. Even in his difficulty, he was serving the Lord. I was just sitting in the lap of Holika and just taking shelter of the holy names. But when he was burnt, he was still serving. He is the epitome of service. He performs topmost service. He's the Das Shiromani. He's the highest servant that's possible. Please go to him. So Narad Muni said, actually, you're very right. Hanuman has perfect mood of service. He's always serving. You're right. I'll go to him. So he went to Hanumanji. And he said, Hanuman, I have been sent here by Prahlad. He says that you're the topmost devotee of the Lord. So Hanuman said, you are right. I did these services. I like to serve the Lord. I'm very well situated in servant mood. But, servant mood is okay. But Lord never has, that relationship of love with me, of like sharing and caring with me. When he went back to his dham, Saket Dham, he took all the vanars, all the monkeys went with him, but he left me here. He made me Chinmay so that I always have to just stay in this material world doing his services. And I like doing his services, but I would have liked to go with him and enjoy relationships with him. But you know, I feel that there is somebody who has always enjoyed perfect relationships with the Lord. These people, they used to sit with him, they used to sleep with him, they used to eat with him, they used to make fun with him, fun of him. And those people are the best devotees of the Lord. So my dear Narad, please go to Pandavas. Pandavas are the best devotees of the Lord. Actually, Arjun himself has said in Bhagavad Gita that I made fun of you so many times, Krishna. I made fun of you, not knowing your supremacy, not knowing your Maheshwar. I used to sit with you, eat with you, lie down with you, walk with you, go on strolls with you, talk with you, but I never realized that you're the Supreme Lord. And so that Pandavas, they are so glorious. At every turn, Lord was there for them, and at every turn, he was engaging in relationships. Krishna would offer pranams to Yudhishthir and Bhim because they were senior to him. He would embrace Arjun, and Lord Ram never embraced me. Whenever I would embrace Lord Ram, you know, he would. I would like to fall down at his feet because I'm such a servant to him. It's not that kind of full embrace of friendship. But with Arjun, he was in complete friendship mood. And then with Nakul and Sahadev, he would give them blessings because they are his juniors. So this kind of relationship they enjoyed. Please go to Pandavas. So then when they went to Pandavas, Pandavas said, Narad Muni, you are very confused, very befuddled. Think about it. We are the worst example of devotees. Anytime we were in problem, we would call Krishna. Is that the mood of a devotee? Anytime you're in problem, you just keep calling Krishna as if he's your servant? No, we were taking service from Krishna. We were always calling for help. So many times we called for his help. In War of Mahabharata, Krishna had to stand and deliver the whole Bhagavad Gita for 45 minutes because we needed help. So much help he gave us at all turns. We are probably the worst examples of devotees. No, we are not the best example. You should go to somebody with whom Krishna always lived and always, he not only served, he also exchanged these relationships that you're talking about. Yes, we had great relationships with Krishna, but we never really served him. But there's somebody who had relationships and service both, and that is the residents of Dwarka, especially Sri Uddhav Ji. So go to Sri Uddhav Ji. Uddhav Ji is the topmost devotee of the Lord. I hope you're familiar with Sri Uddhav. Uddhav is a very close, very, very intimate devotee of the Supreme Lord. Actually, he gave all the knowledge from Krishna, just like Arjun did. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is Uddhav Geet, just like there is Bhagavad Gita, there is Uddhav Geet in Srimad Bhagavatam. Very, very beautiful. So Narad Ji went to Uddhav in Dwarka. So Uddhav Ji said, now if you know about Uddhav Ji was sent on a task by Krishna to Vrindavan. So once upon a time, Uddhav went to Vrindavan to deliver message of Krishna, to check on gopis and all and Brajvasis and see how they're doing. And when Narad Muni came to Uddhav Ji, he said, Narad Muni, you think, Pandavas think I am the best devotees of the Lord? You know what happened when I went to Vrindavan, when Krishna sent me with a message for Brajvasis to Vrindavan? I got the real lesson. I got the real training in what devotional service is. My eyes really opened to what the real devotional service is like. I cannot explain to you the scenes that happened there. I cannot explain to you what I saw there. The virah, the vipralam bhav, the mood, intense mood of separation of Rajvasis that I saw in Vrindavan, I cannot even begin to describe. So that Vrindavan Vasis, they're glorious. Please go to them. So he sent him to Vrindavan. And in this way, I think you can guess the story. In Vrindavan, the Mother Yashoda's devotion is wonderful, beautiful in Vatsalya Bhav, in parental mood. How she chastises Krishna, how she forgets that he is the Supreme Lord and just always taking care of him, running after him, tying him to the tree, performing this beautiful Damodar Leela that we sing till date every day in Kartik Mas. So that Mother Yashoda, in perfect Vatsalya Bhaav, she sent him to the Gopas because Krishna was always playing with Gopas. He didn't want to stay home. He always wanted to play. Gopas said, yes, he would play with us in daytime, but in nighttime, when everybody's sleeping, he would play his flute and call the gopis. So please go to gopis because they are his very intimate, very wonderful, topmost, incredible, extraordinary devotees. There is no way you can understand their devotion because they've been burning in separation ever since Krishna left. Everywhere they go, they see Krishna only. So Narad Muni went to gopis, and then gopis said, yes, you're right, we are still burning in separation from Krishna, but the truth of the matter is that when Ras Leela would happen, when Sharad Purnima comes and Ras Leela happens, Krishna would dance with us, each of us in Ras Leela. We would dance and we would share so many things, but then Krishna would go off with a particular gopi, with one particular gopi. He would go away. He would leave us all alone crying. And that one particular gopi is his heart. That's where Krishna's heart resides. And he cannot have any pleasure in Ras Leela. He cannot have any pleasure in anything, in Vrindavan, in anywhere. He cannot have any pleasure unless that gopi is there. So that gopi is inseparable, non-different from him actually. And that gopi is Radharani. And her love is the topmost. And there is no other place to go but her. So she is the topmost devotee of the Lord, as was concluded by this journey, this transcendental journey of Narad Muni, who went from one devotee to another and found out the topmost, the perfect devotee of the Lord. So her devotion to the Supreme Lord is incomparable. It has no tinge of any selfishness, expectations, nothing. Any mood that she serves in is completely selfless and very, very, nectarian for Krishna. Even when she gets angry, when she comes into that mood of मान में आ जाती है जब anger में, that is also just a way of giving pleasure to Krishna, so that he will now implore to her and try to appease her with in different ways. So in this way, Radha and Krishna are non-different. They are one and the same, but they have assumed two forms: one of love and one of enjoyer and one of enjoyed. And that enjoyed is Radharani, and Krishna enjoys with her to show us how much enjoyment there can be in these pastimes of Lord, how much nourishment, how much nectar there can be in these pastimes with the Lord. And we can have this nourishment ourselves. We can have these pastimes ourselves. So, in this way, Radharani and Krishna show that, this we can also have this relationship just like they have. The relationship of just trying to please and serve the Lord in all moods, at all times, in all situations, uninterrupted, unmotivated devotional service, just like Radharani has. I hope you like that story. It's a very wonderful story. It comes in Brihad Bhagavatamrit. There is another story in that book, but we'll do that some other time. It's not about Radharani, it's about Golok Vrindavan, so we'll take that some other time. But I have some verses here. I'll just recite. These comes from Chaitanya Charitamrit. Those of you are not familiar with this particular literature. So, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Does anyone know how many times Radharani is mentioned in each of these literatures? Bhagavad Gita, how many times Krishna has talked about Radharani, or in Srimad Bhagavatam? How many times Radharani is mentioned? Anyone knows? Any guesses?
Hare Krishna. Today I checked in the Mahabhagatam. I didn't find anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. And Bhagavad Gita?
No,
I do not recall. I do not recall anything about Radharani in Bhagavad Gita.
That's right. That's right, because she's not mentioned. So so now the reason is, so Radharani's Tattva, Radharani's understanding is actually very, very deep. It is very, very intricate. It is a very confidential knowledge. So that is not given to general public through Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. But the next level, so it's said Bhagavad Gita is like the graduation study. Srimad Bhagavatam is the post-graduation study. And then the further speciality of further post PhD study is Chaitanya Charitamrit. And Chaitanya Charitamrit is full of the pastimes and the tattva of Radharani. So we have to slowly climb up the ladder, but as Prabhupada has given us Radharani, we try to share whatever we can about her. Now, who knows? So, you know that Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, right? Do you know what is the relationship of Shukdev Goswami to Radharani? Who knows Shukdev Goswami? Remember, he's son of Vyasadeva and he's narrating Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So he has narrated this whole Bhagavatam, has not mentioned Radharani at all, but he has a very important relationship with Radharani. What is that relationship? What is he in spiritual world? What is his spiritual body?
Mataji, was he a parrot in the previous birth? And
But I thought,
friend of Radharani?
He is Radharani's parrot.
hey guys, I'm going into this.
He is Radharani's shuka or parrot. So that is the spiritual body or the Siddh Swarup of Shukdev Goswami. So the parrot of Radharani is supposed to rattle the name of Radharani and the pastimes of Radharani. Yet, remember, this was an assembly of many types of sages. So this was a very big assembly. This was in this assembly there were people of different type of understanding. There were Gyanis and Yogis and Dhyanis and people who are focused on impersonal mukti or liberation, and people who are just even not on the mukti platform. So many different type of understandings were there. And this was not an assembly of pure devotees of the Lord where Radharani can be discussed. Plus, Shukdev Goswami is so attached to Radharani. He is the servant of Radharani. He's a parrot of Radharani. So he's so attached to her that if he starts talking about her, he will go into ecstasy. There are some verses in Srimad Bhagavatam where he has indirectly alluded to her. But whenever he tries to allude directly, he would go into this ecstasy. And Parikshit Maharaj did not have that much time to let him go into this mood where he cannot come out of. I'll show you one verse where he has indirectly mentioned Radharani. This one. So this verse comes in 10th canto, 30th chapter, 28th verse. Anyaradhito nunam Bhagavan Hari Ishvara Yanno Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anayadraha. Certainly, this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. So this particular gopi that they're talking about, he has mentioned her indirectly, Anyaradhito nunam. Aradhana words comes from Radha. So when you worship a Lord perfectly, that is called Aradhana. With intense sincerity and devotion, that is called Aradhana. So Aradhana comes from Radha. And when you work against Radharani, that is called Aparad. So that's why we are not supposed to do Aparad because it is against Radharani. It is against the wish of Radharani to do Aparad. Aparad means something opposite to Radharani. So Aparad means opposite to Radharani, and Aradhana means intense devotional service in the same mood as Radharani. So Aradhana. Now, I was talking about Chaitanya Charitamrit, which is the next level that is given to us by Chaitanya. There is a biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I will not go into Chaitanya Mahaprabhu since many of you are probably not familiar with him, but I'll just recite the verses here. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just in 2 lines, he is the incarnation of Krishna in the mood of Radharani. When Krishna wants to understand the mood of Radharani, Radha Bhaav or Gopi Bhaav, Mahabhav of Radharani, then he comes in this gaur complexion or golden complexion, and that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Gauranga. And he has given us, he has opened the floodgates of Radharani's love for us. So whatever Krishna did not give us in Bhagavad Gita, whatever Shukdev Goswami did not give us in Srimad Bhagavatam, everything is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which has opened the floodgates of Radharani's love completely for us. But the problem is we tend to get drowned. So that's why we are encouraged to first of all go through the steps of reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and purify ourselves a little, our desires, our attachments to this world before we start understanding the Tattva of Radharani. But he has given us the love of Radharani very, very freely. So some verses that are given in Chaitanya Charitamrita are Govind, sorry. Trying to remember the tune. Radha Purna Shakti Krishna Purna Shaktiman Dui Vastu Bhed Nahi Shastrera Praman. So one is this one. Radha Purna Shakti. Radha is the complete energy. Krishna Purna Shaktiman. Krishna is the Shaktiman or energetic. Dui Vastu Bhed Nahi. They are one and the same. Shastrera Praman. So this concept that we have of male, female, we need to get rid of this when we talk about the Supreme Lord. We should not think about them in terms of male and female. Okay. So Sri Radha is the full power, Lord Krishna is the possessor of full power, and the two are not different as evidenced by the revealed scriptures. Govinda Nandini Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva, Sarvakanta Shiromani. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and end-all of Govinda and the crest jewel of all his consorts. So Govinda is nothing without Radharani, and Radharani is nothing without Govinda. Think about it. They're energy and energetic. Like my muscle. My muscle has some energy or some power in it because of which I'm able to lift something. Now, if I separated the energy of my muscle cannot do anything. And the energy also cannot do anything without the muscle. So both of them need to stay together to be able to perform a task, an action. That is why Radha and Govinda are complete absolute truth when they are together. So it says Govinda Anandini Radha. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda. Govinda Mohini. She is the enchantress of Govinda. That is why Krishna Radharani's another name is Madan Mohan Mohini. Because Krishna deludes or confuses even Cupid, Madan, jo Kamdev hai. You know, Kamdev runs this world by controlling our lusty desires. So the whole world is under the control of Cupid because everybody is under the control of Kama or desires. But that Madan is unka wo kisse mohit ho jate hain? By Krishna. So Krishna's another name is Madan Mohan. Somebody who can create delusion even in the Madan. But that Madan Mohan, Govinda or Krishna is deluded by Radharani. So her name is Madan Mohan Mohini. Jo Madan Mohan ko bhi mohle, wo unka naam hai Radharani. So Govinda Mohini or Madan Mohan Mohini, like that. Govinda Sarvasva. She's be all and end all of Govinda. So Krishna does not get any pleasure in anything unless Radharani is there. Sarvakanta Shiromani. She is the crest jewel of all consorts. So all, whether it's all gopis, whether it's all Lakshmis, whether it's all wives in the Dwarka, they're Sarvakanta. Out of all those consorts, the crest jewel is Radharani. And this one I think we did before. Radha Krishna ekatma dui dehadhari ane one bela se rasa asavadan kari. So like that, there are so many verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita that glorify this being one and different at the same time. One of the verses, Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarva Kanti Sammohini Para. That Radhika is the source of all Lakshmis. Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarva. She is the source of all their opulence, all the effulgence, and of all the Lakshmis and of all the Devis. So that is Radharani. Mahabhava Swarupa Shri Radha Thakurani Sarva Guna Khani Krishna Kanta Shiromar. So she is the embodiment of Mahabhav, the highest love that is possible for the Supreme Lord. That is personified by Radharani. She has all good qualities, repository of all good qualities, and she is a crest jewel. So in this way, absolute truth is one but expands into two for the purpose of these sweet, nectarian, ecstatic, loving, beautiful, wonderful exchanges in the form of Radha, Raman, Radha, Vrindavan Chandra, Radha Govinda, Radha Gopinath, so many things. But this is the understanding of Radharani. She's also compared to a rasgulla sometimes. Kaise? Rasgulla kaise? Ki jaise in the rasgulla, you know, there is gulla full of ras. So the ras keeps dripping. She's full of love, just like a rasgulla is. And when you touch that rasgulla, that love, that syrup comes on your hand. And then when you touch somebody else's hand, that syrup goes on their hand. So like that, Radharani's love can be passed from one devotee to another because she's dripping of love. But she's the original gulla, she's the original source of all the rasa, from which all the rasa is coming. But the rasa is dripping down the unlimited number of devotees, and we are just passing it on to each other, all that love. But she is the source. इसलिए ऐसे बोलते हैं ना, मीठे रस पियोरी राधा रानी लागे, राधा रानी लागे, मने खारो खारो जमुना जी नो पानी लागे. Because she is the मीठे रस से भरी. And what is that रस? That is Krishna prem. So in this way, she facilitates Krishna's pastimes. She's the Yogmaya potency of the Lord. She hides Krishna's opulences from the devotees, from Yashoda Maya, from Gopas. They all think, oh, he's just our friend, just our child, just a little ordinary boy. She hides Krishna's opulences from them. She increases the rasa of his leelas, so that devotees forget that Krishna is the Lord. And thus she brings devotees closer to Krishna. So in this way, she serves Krishna in limited, variegated ways. And she has so many leelas. There are so many leelas. I don't have time to discuss the leelas. I'll just mention maybe one little pastime related to this particular verse here. So you know that Radharani has many sakhis, Ashta sakhis. Ashta sakhis, may say the two prominent sakhis are Lalita Sakhi and Vishakha Sakhi. So, and Lalita Sakhi is in a always very sarcastic, very looking out for Radharani. She's always protecting Radharani from Krishna. She thinks that Krishna is no good for her, that her Sakhi, her Radharani deserves more. So whenever Krishna is late, and Krishna is always late, so she always chastises Krishna on instead of Radharani, she chastises Krishna for being late. So she's always trying to hide Radharani from Krishna because she's very, very, very loving towards Radharani, and she doesn't want her to be hurt. So one time, Krishna, as usual, was running late in his meeting with Radharani, and Radha was sitting there chanting the names of Krishna. Krishna Keshav, Krishna Keshav, Krishna Keshav Pahi Mam. Like that, she was chanting the names of Krishna. So Lalita Sakhi got upset. This Krishna, this rascal, he's always late, and yet you are chanting his names. You need to stop chanting his names. You need to stop giving him importance like this, because he's always tormenting you. He's always running late. He's always teasing you. He's always playing tricks on you, and you always let him get away with all of this. I'm not going to let that happen. So Lalita Sakhi is very angry with Radharani for chanting Krishna's names. But so then Radharani says this particular verse. She says, Tunde Tandave Niratim Vitanute Tundavali Labdhaye Karna Kroda Kadambini Ghatayate Karnar Budebhya Spriham Cheta Prangana Sangini Vijayate Sarvendriyanam Kritim Na jane janita ki adbiramritaye Krishneti varnadvayi. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. Please note that Radharani herself has said this verse in Golok Vrindavan, in the spiritual world. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. Karna kroda kadambini, karod mouth ho, karod ears ho. We then desire, when that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all senses become inert. So she's saying, my all senses have become inert, because by saying Krishna's name, it is so nectarian, it is dancing in my mouth, and it has entered through my ears into my heart. And I wish I had millions of ears to hear his names. I had millions of tongues to chant his names. Because it has completely stolen my heart and numbed my senses. That is Krishna name. And you're telling me to stop chanting that Krishna's name? I cannot do that, Lalita. So that's how she's talking with Lalita Sakhi. But we have access to this verse. Does anyone know how we have access to this verse? Who said this verse? How do we get this? This verse was spoken by Radharani in Golok Vrindavan. How do we have access to this verse? Who gave it to us? Nirbhay Prabhu, do you know? Who was reciting this verse? And it came into the pages of scriptures.
Not sure.
Somebody was there when Radharani said this verse. When Radharani said this verse to Lalita, there was somebody there. I'll give you a hint. It was Roop Manjari. One of her Manjaris was there. So you know Sakhis. So Radharani has Ashta Sakhi, but each Sakhi has several Manjaris. So one of the Manjaris was there, and that Manjari was Roop Manjari. And she heard that verse. And when she came to this material world, that Roop Manjari remembered this verse. So who was that?
Roop Goswami.
Roop Goswami, right? So Roop Goswami, one of the Goswamis of Vrindavan. When Roop Goswami came, he was Roop Manjari. All our acharyas have been Manjari. So we have Manjari Bhaav. Every acharya has been Manjari of Radharani. So Roop Goswami was Roop Manjari as revealed by the scriptures. And that Roop Manjari heard this verse when Radharani spoke it. And so when he recited it, it came into the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it's very wonderful verse to memorize. But Radharani sees Krishna everywhere. This is tamal trees. Remember that Vrindavan has many tamal trees, and Krishna's complexion resembles tamal tree. She sees the tamal tree and she sees Krishna. She sees a bhringa or a madhu, like a bumblebee, and she thinks of Krishna, even though Krishna is sitting right next to her. But she's still thinking of Krishna when she's looking at bumblebee, and the whole pastime of bumblebee happens. So many pastimes are there. But I'll quote some verses from some contemporary. So ये तो हमारे आचार्यस की verses थी. I'll tell you some verses from contemporary poets like Ras Khan. Ras Khan was a very great Muslim devotee actually who lived all his life in Vrindavan. Another Muslim devotee, Kabir. So Kabira, you must have heard Kabira. Also a Muslim devotee, pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So what does Kabira says? One time, Kabira's disciples spread this fake information that Kabira is none other than Krishna himself. So Kabira got very angry. Kabir got very angry. And this is the mood of a proper servant, a pure devotee. You cannot call a devotee or a servant Lord. They will get upset because that's not the right mood. We are servants of the Lord, not Krishna himself or any, any of those divine associates. We are not those people. So Kabir got upset. He said, so this is how he chastised them. He said, Kabira Kabira kya kahe ja Jamuna ke tir ik gopi ke prem mein bahi gaye koti Kabir. Ki Kabira Kabira kya kahe? You're spreading false information that Kabira is Krishna. No, ja Jamuna ke tir. You think my devotion is anything? Go to the ghat of Jamuna. Go to the shores of Jamuna. Ik gopi ke prem mein. Even for one gopi's love, bahi gaye koti Kabir. Thousands, millions of Kabirs can be sacrificed for the love of one gopi. So imagine out of those gopis, Radharani is the Shiromani. So how much love she has. Then another, Ras Khan has said, Ras Khan, another Muslim devotee, very contemporary poet and very Rasik devotees of the Lord. He said, Shesh Ganesh Mahesh Dinesh Suresh Jahu Nirantar Dhyave Jahi Anadi Anant Akhand Ached Abhed Subed Batave Narad Se Shuk Vyas Rate Pachihare Tau Punipar Napave Tahi Ahir Ki Choriya Chachiya Bhar Chach Pe Nach Nachave. So he said the devotional service of gopis is such that even though people, great personalities like Sheshnag, Shesh, Ganesh, Mahesh, matlab Shivji, Dinesh, Suryadev, Suresh, Indra, Nirantar Dhyave, they are constantly meditating upon the Supreme Lord. And they are constantly trying to describe the glories, the Anadi and the Anant, how he has no beginning and no end, and he is inconceivable and he is unbreakable, Akhand, Ached, Abhed, Subed Batave, all the Vedas, Subed, meaning all the Vedas give this knowledge. And Narad se leke Shukdev Goswami tak, everybody has said, is trying to understand and trying to glorify the Supreme Lord, but they cannot reach even the minimum understanding of the Lord. They cannot understand the Lord at all. And to that Lord, the gopis of Vrindavan, what do? They give him just a palmful of chach, and they say, okay lalla, nachoge to chach milegi. To nach ke dikhao jara aur chach milegi. So for that palmful of chach, they make him dance to their tunes. So that is the worship, that is the devotion of gopis, that they can make him dance to the tunes. So Krishna wants to be conquered by such love, but that love we can get by the mercy of Radharani. So by mercy, without mercy of Radharani, nothing is possible. Radha, she's our mother. She has the motherly love. She's the mother who will talk to the Supreme Father Krishna and will help us get to him. So Prabhupada ने एक बहुत अच्छी बात बोली थी. Prabhupada used to say this prayer. Prabhupada would say, "Oh Radharani, please tell your Krishna something about me." So his prayer was to Radharani that please tell your Krishna something about me, because we don't have direct access to Krishna, but you do. So if you tell him something about me, अगर आप मेरी सिफारिश लगाओगे, then Krishna will pay attention to me. Maybe he will look at me. So please tell your Krishna something about me. So that's our mood, that we try to approach Krishna through Radharani. And Krishna himself has said to Narad Muni in Narad Puran, he said, Satyam Satyam Puna Satyam Satyam Eva Puna Puna Bina Radha Prasadena Mat Prasado Na Vidyate Ya fir na labhyate. So it says, Satyam Satyam Puna Satyam. Oh Narada, I'll tell you truly, truly, again truly, that without Radharani's prasad, Bina Radha Prasadam. Prasad means mercy. Without the mercy of Radharani, Mat Prasado Na Labhyate. You cannot attain my mercy. So unless you please Radharani, the Supreme Mother, the Supreme Energy of the Lord, the inconceivable Yog Maya potency of the Lord, who's full of Krishna Prem, who's condensed liquid love of Radha, of Krishna. She's made of Krishna Prem. She's made of the joy, the Anand. Then you will get all the Anand, all the joy when you do your services. You'll feel all the Prem of Krishna. But if we don't pray to Radharani, if we don't understand Radharani, try to please her, then it's very hard to please Krishna. So that's the Radha Tattva, that's the Radha Bhaav, it's the highest Bhaav. There are many, many glorifications, many, many literatures. Today, when some devotees came to our house, we discussed Nectar of Instruction, which starts from the basic principle of sense control and goes to the highest destination in this world, in this spiritual world even, which is Radha Kund. And Radha Kund, Krishna says, is most dearest to me because it is the nothing but, it is not different from Radharani. अगर कृष्णा प्रेम को पर्सन बना दें तो वो राधा रानी है, और अगर कृष्णा प्रेम को लिक्विड बना दें, लिक्विड लव, दैट इज राधा कुंड. सो राधा कुंड में एक डिप से प्योर डिवोशनल सर्विस मिल जाती है. So that is, so we did this exercise this morning, that you go from the lowest position in this material world to the highest position of achieving Radha Bhav or Radha Kund as the supreme destination. There are many literatures like this that go, Shikshashtakam prayers go from the lowest principle to the highest principle of Radha Bhav. Rai Ramanan Samvad goes from the lowest principle to the highest principle. What else? There are a couple other places where we go from the lowest principle to the highest principle, and highest principle is always Radha Bhav. Narad Muni's search of best devotee that we did today also went to the highest mood of Radha Bhav. So like that. That's all I have to share. I'll stop here. Thank you everyone for joining. Please ask any questions, realizations, reflections. It's not easy to understand Radharani, so if you have questions, please ask. Who will ask? Anita Mataji, Poonam Mataji, Rekha Mataji, Jagrati Mataji, any questions or any realizations you have? Any points you learned today that you want to share, that any misunderstandings got cleared up or anything like that?
Hare Krishna. Today morning, I read Radha Sahasranama, and I felt like Radha Sahasranama has all the names of Krishna's 8 wives, 16,000, like, everything, like whatever we have learned everywhere. All the names were I could see in that one. I felt like this is the topmost one, Radha Sahasranama, and Radha is nothing but, when I was reading Devi Bhagavatam, I felt like Radha and Krishna, they are not separable. Like one is one form. One times he takes the Radha form and Krishna takes Radha. Like, I'm unable to express those words. They are one. They are just only one. Radha is not a separate entity. Like,
Yes, ma'am. They're one and the same, and they take separate forms to just engage us in their service and to increase the mood of the rasa, to increase the mellows, the emotions, so that we can see these beautiful pastimes happen. I was telling earlier before, Radharani is very confidential. So even in our Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Radharani is the Hare. So her name stays constant. Hara is the name of Radharani. So we are calling out to Hare. Whenever we call out, just Sita becomes Site, Radha becomes Radhe. But it's hidden in Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hara is not a very common name, but it has been hidden there because Radharani is not given very easily to ordinary people, to general public. So that's why it's hidden in the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Similarly, Prabhupada, he established Radha Krishna deities all over the world in all the temples. And generally people think that Radharani is standing next to Krishna. That's the understanding people have. But actually the correct understanding is that Krishna is standing next to Radharani. It's not the other way, because Radharani is our Swamini. She's our Bhagwan. She's our goal. She's the supreme perfection. She's the Bhakti Devi. We have to reach Bhakti. We have to reach Krishna Prema. She's the Krishna Prema. So Krishna is guarding her, standing next to her, not that she's standing next to Krishna. So Prabhupada put Krishna next to Radharani. People think that he put Radharani next to Krishna, but actually Prabhupada was giving us Radharani. Through the deities, he gave us Radharani. Through Chaitanya Charitamrita, he gave us Radharani. Through Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he gave us Radharani. So he was, through the care of Tulsi Maharani, he gave us Radharani. He gave us Bhakti Devi. He gave us Vrinda Devi. He gave us this highest mood of devotional service of pleasing Radharani. So this, he gave us Radharani through everything. But it is a little bit hidden, confidential from general public, because until we have these desires of this world, we always see Radharani as like an ordinary girl or a girlfriend or a cowherd girl. And this Tattva, this high position, this ultimate, absolute, unlimited position of devotion, of prem, is very hard to understand with our contaminated mind, intelligence, and senses. So. Anybody else wants to share anything? Hema Mataji, Rekha Mataji, anybody? You always have very good points you make. Please share. And if you have any questions, please ask. Remember, I shared a verse recently that if somebody asks a question, not only the one that is asking gets purified, but the people that are hearing the question also get purified. So asking a question is encouraged from Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
If we glorify Radharani, Lakshmiji so much, then why we see all incarnations like of Supreme Personality of Godhead in male form?
You mean
right?
Krishna?
Yes.
That's why I'm saying the deity is complete when there is Radha and Krishna. So we typically don't worship them separately. So the right mood, the right understanding is to worship them together, energy and energetic together, not separate. But male or female is just, our perception, because we also keep changing body. It's not like I'm going to be a female eternally, I'm going to be a male eternally, but we get this gender identification based on the body we get. They have a spiritual body. So we are designed, now typically the male is Purusha. Purusha means enjoyer, and female is enjoyed or Prakriti. So this is the general concept. So female is always enjoyed, female is always Prakriti or Shakti, and Purusha is the Shaktiman, Purusha is the enjoyer. But the only enjoyer in this whole world is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He's the supreme enjoyer. He's the supreme Purusha. So that's why he has a male form. We have form, male or female, based on their forms. It's not the other way. It's not that they have male and female form based on our forms. We have male and female form, Purusha or feminine or masculine, based on their forms. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but do you understand that he's the original Purusha? He's the original enjoyer. So Purusha means enjoyer. So whatever Purusha you see in this material world, they're not the Purusha. They're not the real enjoyer. They just have a bodily gender of Purusha. But they are not the real enjoyer. There is only one enjoyer in this whole world. And so he has the male, you can say male, I won't say male, but it's a Purusha or enjoyer form that looks like a male. And we have gotten that form from him. Does that make sense, Mataji? हमें उनका रूप मिला है, उन्हें हमारा रूप नहीं मिला है.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Right? So he is the supreme enjoyer. जैसे एक बार एक कहानी आती है छोटी सी कि मीराबाई went to Vrindavan and she wanted to meet this great sage. But the sage or sannyasi would not meet women. Typically, that's the conduct of sannyasis. They don't meet with women alone. So he said, I cannot, I'm a Purush. I cannot meet with a female alone. So Mirabai sent back this message saying that in Vrindavan, there is only one Purusha and that's Krishna. So who is this second Purusha? So when he heard this clever reply of Mirabai, he granted her audience that, okay, I'll meet her. So जो हमको यहाँ पे मेल फॉर्म मिली है, आदमी जो दिख रहे हैं आपको, आदमी चलते फिरते, ये मेल फॉर्म एक टेम्परेरी इंजॉयर टाइप की फॉर्म है जो जेंडर है. तो for this body, they are, you can say they are Purusha, yeah, in a very small capacity, they are the enjoyer and we are the Prakriti or Shakti form, like that. But they are not the supreme enjoyer, it's just a bodily gender only. So भगवान का gender नहीं होता because भगवान की body ऐसे नहीं होती, material body नहीं होती. Okay, who else? Anybody else has any questions? Rekha Mataji was saying, I think, something before. Yes, Mataji.
Oh, Mataji, I don't have any questions at the moment.
Okay. Okay, I thought you asked. Okay, okay. So if no more questions, we'll stop for today. Any burning realizations, please share. If not, we'll stop. And you can always ask questions separately also or in the group. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Vancha kaltarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patita nam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah gurve gaurachandraya radhikaya tadalaya krishnaya krishna bhaktaya tadbhaktaya namo namah. राधाष्टमी महामहोत्सव की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. हरे कृष्णा. All glories to Guru and Radha. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining. Jai Shri Radhesh.